Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. My Morning Jacket rocks Merriweather Post Pavilion in Columbia, Maryland tomorrow night. I spoke with frontman Jim James in 2019 when he joined the NSO at the Kennedy Center for a special show called The Order of Nature, a Song Cycle. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
First of all, dive right into this Order of Nature here, a song cycle. How did you and the NSO decide to partner on this? Like, did you and Teddy go way back, or what was the origin of the seeds of this thing?
Yeah, I've known Teddy for years now, and we had always wanted to do something together that was like a new thing. And so I guess about 2 years ago now, we just started working on this thing, and I wrote some new songs for it, and we were working on it, and I picked a couple cover songs I thought went with it, and then included a couple of my existing songs just to create this 9-song piece, this song cycle. And basically, like I wrote the songs, but then Teddy took the songs and orchestrated them and arranged them and arranged interludes and connecting pieces, and it was really, really fun working on this with Teddy.
Nice. So the song cycle, you said it's about like 9 songs that will have, the NSO pops behind it. Can you give us a teaser of what some of those songs are, either your existing ones or some of the covers?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's called The Order of Nature, and the theme of the whole piece and a lot of the songs is just trying to understand why human beings have this thing called hatred, because hatred is something you don't really find in nature. You might find a tiger kills its prey or whatever, but there's not this aspect of hatred. And I feel like hatred amongst humans is such a terrible thing that we're all kind of constantly trying to figure out how do we deal with this? How do we live in a more peaceful world? Not only with humans, but with humans' interaction with the planet. It just feels like we're destroying the planet and destroying each other. And so this is just basically a meditation on that, and trying to figure out how to change it, how to create a more peaceful world.
Awesome. So that's sort of the thematic through line. Could you tease a couple of the songs that are in there?
Well, yeah, there's a bunch of songs. I mean, there's 5 new songs, and there's a song called Here in Spirit that's from my second solo record, Eternally Even, and there's another song called Same Old Lie that's from that record as well. Yeah, I mean, there's I could name some of the new songs that nobody knows.
yeah, exactly.
I think that's good.
No, that's plenty, man. That's cool. That gives us an idea. So that's sort of the thematic through line you talked about, the Order of Nature, and you raise a good point. It's like, that you mentioned the tiger, attacking but that's instinctual. So yeah, it's like I'm digging your idea of, we humans, we're not born, I don't think, we're sort of taught that way. So I love that you're
right
thematically exploring that. Speak to just how epic it will be for our listeners who maybe have seen you in concert in a different setting, but to find, the epic nature of having a whole orchestra backing you. I mean, is this like a one-off thing with NSO, or is this something you're kind of taking around the country?
No, we're doing it here and there. This will be the second one. So basically, the album that we're releasing is this song cycle, and it's a live performance of when we did it in Louisville with the Louisville Orchestra, who Teddy is the conductor of the Louisville Orchestra. So we wrote this piece and arranged it and then performed it, and the album that's coming out is it doesn't really sound like a live record because we tried to keep the audience quiet most of the time, but it's a live record, and so we just wanted to perform it, as many times as we could, but so this is the first, with you guys, is the first performance outside of Louisville that we're doing of the piece, and we're doing it in Seattle and Denver, I believe, and hopefully some other places, but that's what we've got lined up right now.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned Louisville. That's where you grew up in Kentucky. Take me back into those days. If our listeners aren't familiar with your bio, how did you actually getting into music, what was like the first instrument you got your hands on, or what was sort of the genesis of all this awesome ride?
Well, I just have always loved music. I remember being a little kid and seeing the Muppet Show, or just watching cartoons or whatever, and just being really moved by the music aspect of that. And so ever since I can remember, I was always interested in music, and started on the guitar, and just kind of really enjoy playing anything I can get my hands on. I'm not a learned musician. I can't read music or anything, and that's been a fascinating thing about working with Teddy, who's just such an amazing conductor and has a vast knowledge of working with music and reading music and working with orchestral players and classical musicians. And so I think it's a kind of a fun meeting of these worlds, where I'm kind of more just go with my gut, go with what I'm feeling kind of person. And Teddy understands that way of working, but also brings the technical aspect and the precision aspect of charting the music and arranging the music in ways that I would not normally think of.
That's awesome. That's like a nice little give and take between the two of you guys. You mentioned the Muppets. What about actual recording artists, musicians? Who'd you dig on growing up? I think sort of influenced your sound.
Well, I came up when grunge was hitting the airwaves really big, so all the grunge bands really hit me really hard, and REM, and the cool thing about that time period was all those bands were really great about turning their fans on to the music that inspired them. So I learned about Neil Young and Bob Dylan and artists like that through the grunge movement, but just also through radio. Really loved Motown as a kid, and that music I feel like has always been a big part of what inspires me. I think I was lucky to grow up in a period where like the most of the music that just happened to be on the radio was actually really great music.
Right.
My parents aren't necessarily like quote unquote music fans, but they just would have the radio on, and there's so many things like Stevie Wonder or Marvin Gaye or Simon and Garfunkel, or whatever it may have been that I heard just randomly as a kid that really struck me.
Absolutely. And then how did you remind our listeners? How did you and your cousin actually get together and form My Morning Jacket? There was like 4 of you guys, right? Blankenship, Glenn, you, and your cousin.
Yeah. Well, My Morning Jacket kind of started out as me just doing this kind of open mic nights and stuff by myself acoustically, and then my cousin John dug what I was doing, and he would play with me occasionally, and then he had a small studio set up on his grandparents' farm that he let me come record there. And we just started having so much fun playing and recording together that it just grew into a band, and it was really just kind of a natural thing. We just really enjoyed it so much that, there's lots of things like that in life where I feel like you really don't even think about it. You just keep doing this thing because you love it. And I don't know.
Awesome. You guys have done so many awesome albums, but so there's no way I can go through all of them. But I'm gonna rapid fire. Give me the first phrase, just one word or a couple phrases when I list these things. Tennessee Fire.
Oh well, it's the 20th anniversary of the Tennessee Fire. We just played a show at the Capitol Theater in New York where we played that album in its entirety, and that was the first record that came out. And it's crazy that it's like just hitting the 20th anniversary of it. It's like a really wild mile marker to think, I don't know, it's crazy. It's been
Absolutely. All right, At Dawn, what does that make you? What does that conjure for you?
Well, At Dawn was like we were still out in Shelbyville, Kentucky on the farm recording these records, and so At Dawn is our second record, and it's still a very homemade record, and it's kind of us just like enjoying learning the studio and learning how things work. We had a very simple studio that was all tape and not much gear or anything, but we really just loved using the space and being out there in the middle of nowhere was really great thing because we could really play as loud as we wanted to and use different spaces for different sounds. Like grain silos and garages and just different things we had available to us.
All right, It Still Moves.
It Still Moves is the third record, and that's the last record we did on our own out in the farm in Shelbyville, Kentucky. And that was a really, really pivotal record because my cousin John and our keyboard player Danny left the band after we toured some for that record, and we were just kind of killing ourselves touring, and they decided that just wasn't the lifestyle they wanted. So Carl and Bo came in, who have been in the band since touring on that record for about 15 years now. So once Carl and Bo came in, that kind of cemented what the band really is, in my mind, because that's been the most consistent and reliable thing that I think we were just trying to find. So It Still Moves was a real pivotal thing of turning towards what the band was supposed to become.
Yeah, so that's sort of the passing of the baton. You have the new lineup, and then you guys released Z in 2005. How do you think that, you got your new lineup? How did Z move you forward?
Yeah, Z was really cool because that was the first record we got to make with Carl and Bo, and we went out to this place called A Lair that was a studio for a while in upstate New York that was kind of like being in The Shining. If they put a recording studio in the hotel of The Shining, it was like you're on top of a mountain out in the middle of nowhere, and it's snowing, and we were trapped there. But it was really fun, and we had a really great time just enjoying that new adventure together.
Well, I'm glad it wasn't one of those all work and no play makes Jim James a dull boy.
Yeah,
The Shining. I'm glad it didn't. I'm glad it didn't go in that direction.
Yeah.
All right, and then of course Evil Urges. I remember. I know that one went pretty mainstream there. With I'm Amazed. Any memories of recording that song in particular?
Yeah, we recorded a studio called Avatar. That one we wanted to take a completely different approach and recorded that in the middle of Manhattan in Hell's Kitchen at the studio Avatar. And yeah, that was really just a cool, completely new way of working for us, where we were living in the city and working in the city and just feeling that energy. So that really has that's one thing I love about recording, is just trying to go to different environments and go to different places and see how that environment affects the music.
Absolutely. And then real quick, Circuital and The Waterfall.
Yeah, they're both so different. Circuital, we recorded in an old church gymnasium in Louisville, and that's another homemade record that we did all ourselves, kind of built the studio ourselves, and that was really crazy, really difficult at times, but really fun. And then The Waterfall, we went to a studio in Stinson Beach, California, that's kind of really cool, kind of homemade place, but it sits on a cliff and looking at the ocean. So the ocean was a big part of that record, and being in nature, hiking every day and stuff. So the nature played a huge role. Nature always plays a big role, but it's kind of, I don't know, I think a lot of musicians or people you talk to who record, there's this certain peace you get, obviously, from going out in the middle of nowhere to make a record, which can be good, but then other times it's like you have to counter that with going into the heart of the city to make a record. So it's kind of like, for me at least, I have to flip-flop between records of like, you're like, I don't want to be out in the middle of nowhere anymore. I want to be amongst people. And then you make a record amongst people, and you're like, God, I gotta get away from people and go out in the middle of nowhere.
Yep, the constant back and forth.
Yep.
Well, then, of course, a lot of your fans will know, obviously, that then after that, you've done probably like 7 or 8 solo albums since then. So what have you enjoyed about? I'm sure you love all the guys in the band and all that journey too. But what have you enjoyed specifically about being able to do those solo ones?
Well, I just love making music at home by myself, and I kind of am always doing that. So the solo records are kind of an extension of me just always being in the studio by myself, and also enjoying making records with other people. I have so many friends that I enjoy making records with, and I have so many just other people that I enjoy collaborating with. So to me, it's like I never want to limit myself on my collaborations, and I enjoy the band and I enjoy playing with those guys, but it's so fun to collaborate with a wide range of people. So that's kind of what I enjoy doing through the solo albums.
Awesome. And that of course brings us to the latest one, which is back around full circle, the Order of Nature, a song cycle. So you'll be performing that at the Kenner on the 4th. And then when did you say the actual album comes out?
It comes out in October. I forget the exact date.
Okay, but it'll all be this fall. So hey, it's, I guess sort of that's a good way to sort of wrap it up. Explain to our listeners how, if the album's not until October, but this concert's in early September, explain why this is a really cool, why should they come? Why is it such a cool way to sort of get a sneak peek at that, that new record?
Well, this concert's kind of the launch of the album. We were going to, by the time we play this concert, we will have said the album's coming out. But I don't think, we haven't even said the album's coming out yet. So this is kind of and we'll release a song from the album. So I think once the people hear the release of the album or whatever and see that the performance has new songs and has some old songs that they might know if they're a fan of past stuff, I think it's just I'm really proud of it, and I think it's really great and thrilling for me to get to sing with the orchestra, obviously, and it's really cool thing to just be a singer too. I'm not playing guitar or any instruments. I'm just trying to channel my inner Edith Piaf or whatever, and just be a singer in front of an orchestra, which is so thrilling. And we're also trying. I think the most important thing about the whole thing is we're trying to spread a message of peace and love and acceptance and equality, and trying to discuss that, and also discuss just the nature of the world right now that feels so troubling to so many people. We're trying to be a uniting force and a healing force in the world, and I think that's the most important thing to us about the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure, man. We can definitely use that message right about now for a million reasons. So, hey, thanks for doing it, and thanks again for calling in. Again, everybody, it's Jim James with the NSO Pops, the Order of Nature, a song cycle. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.